listening to the Bluejay Breakdown.
Welcome to Bluejay Breakdown. Bellinghausen and Jacob Padilla alongside with you, breaking down Creighton men's and women's basketball. Let's start with the team who's on a recent winning streak, 4-game winning streak for the women's basketball team. What stood out to you, Jacob?
Yeah, last time we were here, we talked about how tough the start of the season was, and obviously they dropped 2 of the first 3. And the path wasn't going to necessarily get any easier because they were not going to be playing at home very much. Mm-hmm. But the one game that started that was at home. That was the Nebraska win. They pulled that one out with a great fourth quarter, and since then they've been rolling. Mm-hmm. It was 80-74 over Nebraska in that one. In particular, some of the players that we talked about last time needing to step up, they did that, and suddenly the team's looking a lot better. So we'll get to that in a minute here. But yeah, that was a great game against Nebraska. They really needed that one. Obviously, they've had a lot of success in that series in recent history. And the key was Molly Mogensen stepping up in the fourth quarter, going 4 for 4 from 3 after struggling to score the ball to start the season. Came alive and hit some big shots.
Yep.
They got a 3 from Mallory Brake.
I know. Once I saw that, I was like, this game's over. Mallory Brake's hitting a corner 3. Like, oh my goodness.
I think they hit 6 threes as a team in the fourth quarter. So it came alive at the end there and managed to pull ahead and hold on to that one. So Lauren Jensen went 2 for 2 on 30-point outings at home. Must really like playing at DJ Sokol Arena.
Yep.
So just really good team performance, and they carried that forward onto the road to the Emerald Coast Classic down there in Destin, Florida, where they absolutely destroyed their competition. And it's amazing. Like you go back and look at Creighton's MTE record over the last several years under Flan. He just doesn't lose those games, and they're not in any of the big time events where they're playing top 5 teams or anything like that. But it's not like they're beating up on all these low and mid majors. Like there's a lot of other high majors, like somewhat similar teams that they've gone in these tournaments with, and they've just managed to beat them time and time again. And did that again this year with a 91-63 win over Wichita State, old conference opponent there, and then 86-59 win against Syracuse. And 2 different games. The first one, they won it with balance. 8 different players scored 7+ points, and Molly carried her hot shooting into that one where she led them with 15. Went 6 of 7 from the field, only 1 from 3. So she was doing her work inside the arc in that one compared to the previous game. 21 assists on 32 field goals. Like that's Creighton basketball. Yeah. And then the next game against Syracuse. Syracuse came out in zone, tried throwing that against Creighton. Not a good idea. No. And the Jays just absolutely rained fire from 3. They're up 29-9 after the first quarter and 55-21 at halftime. Went 15-28 from 3 as a team, and that's after going cold in the fourth quarter down the stretch. So they like the shooting display that they put on was unlike anything I've seen this season on men or women's side. So we know they're capable. We know they're capable of that. And it was Molly 28, 11 of 14 shooting, 6 of 6 from 3, and Jensen 21, 8 of 13, 5 of 7 from 3, combined for 9 assists as well. So your 2 best players go 11 for 13 from 3-point range.
You're gonna win a lot of games.
Yeah, you're gonna win. And because Jim Flannery is a crazy person, they no chance to come back home and relax after
they go to Tulsa, ship them out to Tulsa.
Yeah, going straight down to Tulsa. But they took care of business there, 81-59 as well. They were up 11 at halftime and then poured in 32 points in the third quarter. Went 6 of 9 inside the arc, 3 of 5 from 3, 11 of 12 from the line. So just really well balanced. Yeah. So we're starting to see them look a little bit more like the offensive team we thought they could be, in the team that they needed to be. But their defense is the story of that Tulsa game. They held them under 40% from the field and forced 17 turnovers. So that's 4 straight wins for Creighton, and you're starting to see them kind of round into shape here. Yeah,
and I think it was a much-needed win against Nebraska to kind of spark all of this, because I remember talking to Mallory after the game, and one of the questions I asked her was, what kind of statement did this team make in this win? And she's like, we're way better than our record. That was the one thing. She's like, this team will be ready come March, and we're a good team, I think was her biggest message. So I think just hearing that from her and seeing that confidence still there for that team, obviously they showed it. I mean, you play a multi-team event and back-to-back games, and then you're on the road. Like, that shows a lot of grit, a lot of courage, a lot of confidence for that team. So good on them for that, and also improved play, like you mentioned, for Morgan Molly, also Molly Mogensen. It hasn't just been Jensen having to go off every game.
Yeah, and that's I talked about Mogensen in particular, just slow start to the season. She's a senior, needed her to step up, and she's capable of providing a little bit more. And the Nebraska one was when kind of the lid came off the rim for her. Like I said, 4-4 from 3 in the fourth quarter. But she had 5 points on 2 of 11 shooting in the Drake and Kansas State games. During this 4-game winning streak, 10 points a game, shooting 65% from the field, 6 of 7 from 3, made all 10 of her free throws. So she doesn't have to go out and be a superstar, but you get her in that 8 to 12 to 13 range, just to supplement what you're going to get from some of the other players. Then Creighton becomes that much harder to guard. Like, she's got to be able to take advantage of the attention paid to Jensen and Molly, and she's done that much better recently. And then Morgan Molly, who another milestone, cracking the top 10 career scoring. Her and Jensen are just going to be kind of going back and forth all season long. Two of the best that have come through this program, sharing the court at the same time. So that's pretty cool. But I talked about Morgan kind of started the season a little bit slow, a little bit inefficient, a lot of shots to get her points, averaging 16 points a game on 50% true shooting the first 4, which not good efficiency. That's basically a 1-to-1 shot to point there, which not what you want to see. Over the last 3, 19.7 points a game on 77 true shooting percentage, and 10 of 14 from 3 during that stretch. Of course, the 6 of 6 in the one game will help that. But with that, she's up over close to like 45% on the season, I think. So just when she's playing like that, in addition to what Lauren Jensen's going to do, it may not be 30 every game. And in that Tulsa game, she actually struggled from the field, but still kind of stuff in the stat sheet, and then getting that support from her teammates, and they're able to win big in that one.
Absolutely. Well, they're at Xavier, and then at UNI, and then at Green Bay. So, Flan, you're not doing this team any favors on the road. But
and so just I haven't got a good answer for why they're playing a random conference game in the middle of their non-conference. I believe that's an early game too. 10 a.m. tip at Xavier.
Something happened there. There must be some reason behind that.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but you'll be able to watch that one on Flow. Doesn't look like there's going to be video for the UNI game, which is unfortunate because
that's going to be a good one.
Yeah, UNI, they're 4-3, but they've got wins over Iowa State and Pitt, and they took Kansas and Auburn down to the wire and lost close ones there. Maya McDermott will be as good as any player that Creighton sees this season outside of UConn. 24 points, 6 assists on 52, 50, 89 shooting splits this season.
Goodness.
She is just, I think she had like a 38-point game recently.
Yeah.
She is going to be a handful for them to deal with. So
how tall is she?
They're guards. So their 2 best players,
That's fine.
Kaba Lowry, 16 points a game on 56% on 8 3-pointers per game.
Jeez.
So those are the 2 that they're going to have to deal with. So yes, unfortunately they get a break from the dominant post players, and now they're going to have to defend some guards. But it'll be fun. Hopefully, at least the highlights maybe we'll get to see from that one. I don't know. We'll see. It's unfortunate. It feels like it could be a pretty good showcase. But
have a parent just put their phone up. Yeah, pull one of those.
Let's do it.
All right, now to the men's basketball side. A team that has worried some fans, I think, but Jacob, maybe you can help them out a little bit. But 3-game skid was snapped with their latest win and over Notre Dame, of course. But how do you feel right now with this team, and where are you on that scale of worry? Yeah,
it's tough to get a great feel for this team. They've had to deal with a lot of adversity over the last week and a half or so, going back to into that Nebraska game. Obviously that game did not go the way they wanted it to. Second time in 3 years that Nebraska has completely shut off the paint and dared Creighton to beat them from 3, and they weren't able to do it. Ryan Kalkbrenner did not take a shot inside the arc in that game outside of getting fouled. And Creighton went 12 of 42 from 3, which is a new program record for attempts, unfortunately not for makes. And Stephen Ashworth got hurt at the end of that game on top of it. So just real bad feelings coming out of that game. And San Diego State kind of took the same. Brian Dutcher admitted, like, hey, we stole Nebraska's game plan defensively against Ryan Kalkbrenner, and had 11 points, but it took him 12 shots, and they had to play without Stephen Ashworth. And so one of your most important players there, they hung around in the first half, weren't able to maintain in the second half, went 1 of 16 from 3. in that one, and just got away from them. And then Texas A&M, you're facing a top 30 team. They were ranked number 20 at the moment, but they're top 30 team in KenPom. So good team, really athletic guards. They found a way. Ashworth somehow got back in the lineup.
No idea how.
No, Greg
that
McDermott
strength is what you said.
Yeah, Greg McDermott isn't sure either. Just based on the way
it looks
the
horrible.
ankle looked. Yeah, the
injury
moment, itself, the
yeah.
swelling that he had in the days afterward, whatever he did to get him ready. And you can even see in the Notre Dame game after that, like checking out and getting it looked at, it was still bothering him. He had to gut through it. It's not 100% healthy, but got out there, hit 7 threes between the Texas A&M Notre Dame game, double digits both games, kind of gave them what they needed. And so they led Texas A&M most of the way, weren't able to finish out the game. Pop Isaacs got loose, 25 points, hit 5 threes. Jackson McAndrews starting now, started all 3 games out in Vegas, had a double-double in the first game, 16 in the second. Wasn't as big of the puzzle in the third game, but he had other guys step up in that one. So you get Ashworth back, you take a good team down the wire, don't get it out, don't get the win ultimately, but then you got a few days off to think about it before you come back for the crossover game, the 7th place game against Notre Dame. And you come to find out no Kalkbrenner, which was kind of a surprise for the team. They weren't necessarily anticipating that, but they haven't given details, but some lower body injury. Precautionary, Greg McDermott said. I expect to see him against Kansas. But yeah, so you got to go out and find a way to win without your best player. They desperately needed to win. This is a beatable team. They got to do without the big guy in the middle. And they managed to do it. And credit to all the guys for stepping up. For the first time, we saw the bench really
Shane
provide
Thomas.
a big boost. All those guys, all 5 bench players stepped in. They all scored. Mason Miller finally hit a 3. And Isaac Trout had his, I think, best game of the season in terms of overall impact. Obviously, hit some 3s against Kansas City, but level of competition and importance. I think he had 8 points, 2 threes. Got fouled on an offensive rebound, hit both free throws, 6 rebounds. Big for him to kind of hold his own out there. And Fred King stepping up, 14 points, 5 boards, 4 blocks, starting for Kalkbrenner. He's the one that had 7 of their first 12 points. So it's just really overall a team effort. And we haven't seen a lot of those role players step up and do what they're capable of, what they've shown in the past. And that's a big part of why the team has struggled so far. So if you can maintain some of this bench performance, guys just knocking down open shots, guys holding their own defensively, when you get Kalkbrenner back in that mix and you get a hopefully healthy Ashworth, and Pop Isaacs was sick playing through the flu in that game. I was checked out, sat for 10 minutes in the second half when you mentioned Shane Thomas came in and held his own defensively, had a bucket on a nice cut. Really important minutes for him. And he was guarding Tay Davis, who's like 6'8", 6'9", kind of power forward wing type, one of their best players. And he's out there as a 6'3" guard holding his own and making life tough for him. So, but you get Isaacs healthy, you get Ashworth healthy, you get Kalkbrenner back in the mix. And then if you get those role players doing their jobs, suddenly the picture looks a lot closer to what we thought they could be. And that's the hope that you have coming out of Vegas and over the last game and a half of their performance. Shooting wise, first 6 games, 29% from 3 on over 30 attempts a game. Last 2, up to 39% on the same number of attempts. So hopefully they found their shooting touch, because if guys start knocking down those open threes, it makes it that much harder to load the paint against Kalkbrenner and break down Creighton's offense. So that's what they've been waiting on to keep teams honest. And if nothing else comes out of Vegas, then they were able to kind of get some confidence. That'll be big for them moving forward.
Yeah, and force their bench into production too, I think was probably the biggest takeaway as well. Does it scare, or should it scare fans that there is a game plan to take away Kalkbrenner and make him inefficient?
Yeah, I mean, until Creighton proves that they can make teams pay for doing it, they're going to keep doing it, because they have that much respect for Kalkbrenner and what he's capable of and what he means to the team. I mean, Nebraska has done that game plan 3 years in a row. 2 years, it worked. The middle one, it led to a blowout because that is the risk that you run by daring Creighton to take open threes against you. Creighton hasn't been able to make teams pay for that for the most part this season. If they can, then suddenly I think those openings will be there for Kalkbrenner. They're going to have to start playing Creighton more straight up. They're going to have to start respecting their shooters if they go down, because you don't want to be giving up wide open threes. It's going to be hard to keep up. So that's the key. Guys like Trout, guys like Mason Miller, if he gets out there. We know Stephen Ashworth has been consistent, over 40% from three on the season. Isaacs, we know he's capable of getting hot. So if those guys can start knocking down those shots, then I think we'll start to see things loosen up for Kalkbrenner. But Creighton also has to do a better job of executing even when teams are game planning against him, besides just skip past three.
Sure.
You got to find other ways to attack it. Kalkbrenner's got to be a little bit more assertive. Creighton's got to make sure they don't miss him when he does make himself available before the double team gets there. So they just got to get a little bit better across the board. But I do think like a lot of it does come down to that shooting.
Well, you got the biggest test of the year so far. Number one, Kansas coming to town. How do you defend Hunter Dickinson? Like, how do you go about that matchup with him and Kalkbrenner, especially with Kalkbrenner maybe needing minutes out? How much is he going to play that game? How can you possibly win this game in Omaha?
Yeah, that's the hope, is that letting Kalkbrenner sit out this last game and having a few days here to back at home to rest up and recuperate. Hopefully you'll get a full strength Kalkbrenner close to it, because two of the best bigs in the country. I think the field of 68 ranked them as the top two centers in the country going into the season, one order or another. And Dickinson is leading them 16 points, 9 boards a game. And the way Kansas scores is interior scoring. We know that's Creighton's strength taking away. So it'll be fun to kind of see that chess match of how Creighton manages to execute their defensive game plan against a team that does want to score inside consistently, because Kansas hasn't shot the ball great from three, and they don't get to the line very much. Low free throw rate. So that's one area where Creighton is normally a strength. Probably isn't going to be a huge part of this game, simply because that isn't something that Kansas relies on. So it's going to be two of the best interior scoring teams in the country. They're both over 60% on 2-pointers, I believe. So it'll be fun going back and forth. We'll see kind of how much, see what Creighton does defensively, how much straight up Kalkbrenner versus Dickinson do we see versus sending some doubles, trying to get the ball out of his hands and daring them to maybe beat them from the perimeter. We know they've got a veteran point guard in KJ Adams, or in DeJuan Harris. KJ Adams, their four-man there playing alongside Dickinson, is a good athlete. And then Zeke Mayo, the guy that Creighton looked at in the offseason and kind of evaluated him as a recruit coming out of high school as well. He hasn't shot the ball great for them, but he's scoring 12 points a game. Coming as South Dakota State transfer there, moved back home. He's from Lawrence. So there'll be some. It's a talented team, obviously number 1 in the country. It's number 7 in KenPom. They're top 10 in offense and defense. They've got wins over Duke, North Carolina, and Michigan State. It's
they haven't had a cakewalk either.
Creighton's got to have their best game. They got to have everybody firing on all cylinders to have a chance in this one.
All right, and then doesn't get too much easier. UNLV on Saturday, another quality opponent. What is your biggest, I guess, points of emphasis for that UNLV game?
Avenging the loss last year. UNLV, different roster, but Didon Thomas Jr. is back. He caused them problems last year as a freshman, shifty point guard, averaging almost 17 a game, almost 4 assists a game, shooting 50% from three. He's the key. They got to be able to lock down on him. Jeremiah Cherry is a 6'11" forward, averaging about 13 and 7 a game, 2 blocks. So he's a force they're going to have to deal with. So UNLV's 4-3, 107 in KenPom. So not a great team. It's a team that Creighton should beat as long as they come out and play the way they're capable of. But like you said, we saw they were supposed to beat them last year too, and they didn't take care of business. So they can't let whatever happens at Kansas game carry over the next one. They got to get ready to go.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Bluejay Breakdown. We'll talk to you guys next time.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.